Right.
Well, okay, these cows are definitely a
Alright,
little more
that might
sweat.
work.
Not that sweat is a bad thing. Everyone needs a bit.
Alrighty, good. Oh. Sorry, I meant to say good afternoon, but I was about to say good morning. Well, it's morning somewhere, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to yet another Ace Attorney live stream that I'm doing. So I took a quick break from this. I believe it was Thursday, Friday, and I did the escape simulator. But now that I just had I need to take a quick break from this game, because even though I love this game, like, you do need to take a break every now and then. So yeah, but now we're back to Ace Attorney. Give me 1 second. Let me just show you where we're at. Here we are. Yeah. Oh, also, love my shirt. Yeah. So we're back to playing Ace Attorney. We're going back to the third case. I believe we just finished the testimony of Albert saying, yeah, we just finished saying that his metal can't be whatever it is transported over through his machine. However, there is that flaw where the guy's glasses were on his body, and so now we have witness testimonies coming in from the balloon guy, the little German boy, and I think it was also Gina. Yeah, I think it was Gina, if I remember. For those who may be coming in for the very first time, I already played this case. I just want to get a refresher, because when I first played this, I literally left for a couple months in between to take a break from the game, and I literally forgot a bunch of things, so I'm just starting over again. I do know exactly what happens at the end, and then I'll be going to the next two cases after that. So for now, let's go back to this case. And we're about to be taking a quick recess for trying to get these witnesses. I cannot see. Okay.
Missionary Odo, what on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at it all along? My hypothesis! My amazing hypothesis! You've been picking holes in it from the start!
Sorry about that.
But you promised me! You said you'd prove that dreaded explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is to try to undermine me.
Yes, I did make you a promise. You're right. I said that I'd believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. Second. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there?
But if I just run through some equations, yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete.
Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he?
Oh! Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. And I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster. Not just as a scientist, but as a human being!
Well, that might be a little over the top.
And while we're on the subject, what about Barrack? He's being awful. Claiming he's our university friend.
Imagine how he says. Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean?
He's a disaster. Not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but no. Wait. He's a raper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore.
Well, he's homo in one way. Glad that's cleared up. Can I double check something with you?
Ah, yes? What?
The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved?
I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe it.
Alright, Professor. I understand.
Counsel, defendant. The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again.
What is this new voice for these people?
Make your way to the courtroom, please.
It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. A practical implementation such as was just attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible. So really, what should I be trying to prove here? You should be trying to prove he's not guilty, Naruhodo. That's the one thing you gotta do. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsel for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify? The prosecution is ready, my lord. I already prepared them to lie on the stand. As is the defense, my lord. We already knew that they were lying. So, Lord Van Zeeks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes. Indeed they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we're about to hear can be considerably highly reliable. Perfect. A detective of all people. The prosecution stance remains unchanged. Although it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused. Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So, bring forth your witnesses now. Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally. You know what's got me thinking? Like you're a witness to like an accident, and like you obviously have information and everything, but sometimes like you kind of want to just hide that information from people, or like you want to be kept anonymous. But then imagine how terrifying it must be, like knowing like every single word you say is very much important to anything as evidence to the court. And if you say one thing wrong, people will immediately not trust your testimony. So it's like, that must be a lot of pressure to have on you, don't you think? Excuse me? Whew. Witnesses, state their names and occupations for the court to hear. I think I gave this guy an Italian accent. And the one thing I want to... sorry, that was close. The one thing I want to say to everybody who's watching my streams and everything, I apologize in advance if it's very stereotypical or just very, very like stereotypical and maybe a bit offensive. I'm so sorry. I literally don't. I try not to, but like trying to give them a normal voice is not fun by any means. So I am very sorry if it plays into stereotypes and everything. Also, this guy is going to sound like Mario because I literally thought of Mario the second I saw this man the first time. My name is Baltasar Lune. I am the impresario of all the hot air balloons in the vicinity at the experimental stage. Oh boy. What did I give his name?
My name is Wilhelm Gostreich Sigmund Ornstein. I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. Give me balloon.
Here you go.
I'm very rich.
Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective. Even Alex Sherms agrees. I was on security duty here at the exhibition, and I got to go up in one of them balloons. It was amazing.
Gina, again. But she did mention that she'd seen the disaster from up in a balloon, actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it.
Of course I did, Odo. I saw the blood and guts from my seat.
There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one such balloon at the time and saw events unfold from the skies above. You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet, very low.
Well, you can't see nothing. Well, you can't see nothing. Nothing if you fly too high, can you?
I just realized I'm making Gina sound like the little girl. Oh great, I'm mixing up the voices in my head. 60 feet. About 18 meters then. Thank you for your introductions. Now, you will give your formal testimony to the court. Oh boy. Kindly describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage.
It was an incident. Terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. There's an huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang in the sky beside us. And from amid the smoke, a cage appeared. out of nowhere. Nowhere. The cage, it fell from the sky like a stone, and it crashed into the crystal tower. I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. Oh boy, that was a lot. A most extraordinary collective account, I must say. Could I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions. More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called birdcage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage, and a moment later, the second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witnesses. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower. I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with a person inside. Oh my god, I'm making them so too close. I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes with a person inside. The blast was so hot, but I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide. Also, this kid has a very deep voice for his age. I still have lots of money. Could you lend me some, young man? Being a judge is not a very, lucrative opportunity for me. I'm still behind on my rent. Precisely. Who is this curious infant? I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed in the great exhibition. Yeah, I am here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school. We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony. Do we really need that? When I remove my mask, this is what I look like.
Ah, yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody say so.
Great disguise then.
The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the fact for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the crystal tower where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asmund on the stage, could possibly have committed the murder.
Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So the defense's cross-examination now, please.
Yes, my lord. Oh boy, where do I start with this?
Imagine like Naruhodo's like,
These fucking people with the testimonies always trying to ruin my life.
Okay. Let's see. There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. See, all 3 of them, my bellissimi bambini. They are very popular, signor. Some people would pay £10 for one ride. £10? £20? That's more than my annual stipend. £20 a month. That is my pocket money. Royals have all the luck. I got up there for free, I did. Bloody hell, I work with a magic police card, you know. Detectives have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though? Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other. The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area. See, and the zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me. Hey Mustang! Sorry, oh, that was really close. It was pretty good. Pretty good for the most part, Mustang. Thank you. Oh, that's like, hey Dad. Yeah, it was pretty good, Mustang. Thanks for asking. Pretty much I just did work all weekend, and what else did I do? That's all I honestly remember. I just went to work and also just like hung out with the family. That was basically it. Thank you, witnesses. Witness, I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed for the incident? Right, I can fit you in there, my lord. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang of the sky beside us.
Hold it!
So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air.
Yup, isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Odo, being a lawyer is a mug's game. You should join the force and we can go flying together.
You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think?
Everything. We saw everything. Because we were above it all. That dodgy cove climbing in the cage and that dodgy professor pulling all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared just like that.
You're describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe.
I didn't know what to make of it. But then there was another bang right in my ear. I looked round and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky, and there was nothing there before.
Excuse me.
Master Gotts, does your memory of the day differ?
My teacher at elementary school says that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name.
Ah, yes, what was it again?
Wilhelm Gostreich Sigmund Ornstein.
Just the four names then? The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, perhaps?
I get it right, Odo. It's Inspector Lestrade.
Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? I guess like imagine if what was it? Ryunosuke didn't say Susato-san. He forgot the san. She just did the Susato takedown. Like, it's Susato-san!
That is not what I saw.
Oh?
Yeah, there was a second explosion, and it was right beside our balloon. That is true. But I'm sure. Which is what I said, in it. 1 minute there was nothing there, the next a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school says that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt,
You will have the most awful life imaginable.
are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? Oh, of course, there you go.
Dankeschön.
Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? You what? I never saw nothing like that.
Well, I did. I saw it. And you can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I am Bohemian Prince. You cannot say it's a lie. That is not allowed.
Playing the bleeding royalty card, are ya? Typical. Says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police. In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia. It was not the skies that exploded, it was a green balloon at the time.
Hold it!
The green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course I am sure. I am proud Bohemian Prince. All of these questions are making me boring. I think you mean bored. Ah, English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior. Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie.
Lie.
Flying balloons never explode. For the same reason the planets never explode. It is logical. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical.
If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia.
But die.
I will have them in army come and shoot all your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them.
Okay. Okay, here you go. There you are, Your Highness. If only all international incidents were so easily resolved. Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Lone? No, I did not see the explosion myself. However, okay, I think this is where we present that little piece of the balloon to them. I think this is the moment, so I'll save it here just to be safe. Okay, so let me figure it out. Yeah, I think this is it.
Objection!
Nope, I was wrong. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
Hold it!
So go through it again. Blah blah. See. Yeah, they didn't mention that. I'm pretty sure I had to keep pressing all the statements just to be sure. To be sure. What else? Actually, let me see what else is in the court record. Okay. Okay, yeah, ba 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 ba. Okay. Here we go. So let's keep pressing all the statements just to be sure.
Hold it!
Did you see that actually happen? No. In reality, I did not. I saw after I hit the tower. There was a grande confusione around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there. I saw it there. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I am a detective now. Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I like to hear. I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after crashing to the tower.
Hold it!
Was it you who gave the order to keep people away? Eh? Use your head, Odo. How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, weren't I? Right. So cause I went available, it was the boss who had to leg it over there. He was getting shoved and kicked all over by panicking spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It's a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing! Poor Inspector Gregson. So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to say, to be honest. I was scared and had me wits. Keep it together, Inspector. The prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. What if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. The two explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. I think this is where we present it.
Objection!
There we go. Mr. Lune, in your testimony, you said that all three of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. Sí, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosiones, it would have been terrible. I wonder if you might know what this is. Ah, I think it may be... See, part of a balloon. A burnt piece of the fabric out of the envelope. Sorry? The envelope? Pardon. That is the large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from a very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you're out in the sky. Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Guts testified, a green balloon did indeed explode that day. If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Lune, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence. No! If a balloon exploded that day, why didn't the man say so? Maybe everyone on board was killed. Oh no, having just spent £10 whole for the experiment? How awful. Seems to me like those things crash 50% of the time anyway. The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage. The point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon, causing the balloon to explode. Yes, eminently plausible. An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pretended facts. This I cannot accept. Why not, Mr. Lune? You are suggesting that I am a liar. That person died in a balloon incident. There is no need to get fired up, Mr. Lune. The victim was the sole fatality that day. That's right, and I prove it. But Mr. Lune is not a liar. That there was no such balloon in the sky. It is not possible. You're saying it's impossible. Why? This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day. Aye!
Objection!
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Lune. I concur. There is clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. And I'm only saying this because I missed half that testimony. I was asleep.
Yes, so can you just repeat that, please? It's imperative that we clear up this issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibition.
Ah, grazie, my lord.
Oh boy.
As I said, Balthazar Lune is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers, and they fell to the ground in an esplosione. What a catastrophe! But you can't get away from the fact that a bit of cloth was found at the same canyon. The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris through an explosion on the stage. This stupido ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway.
So your assertion is that the balloon is this child saw was not one belonging to you.
Si, exactamente. If he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It is very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia.
If you attack us, we will fight back. It will be war. A lot war.
Oh, see.
What happened to all that war?
Mr. Lune certainly doesn't appear to be lying, but that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here.
If the defense is unable to find fault with the witnesses' statements, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend.
The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes.
Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses.
I think I have to press the last statement.
Hold it!
You mean the color is wrong? Si, senor. I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse. And yet a piece of green cloth is found at the scene, and it's unmistakably from a balloon. Well, I do not know how that can be.
For the sake of the argument, let's say that the green balloon did explode above the stage. You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question.
Why not?
There have been recreational balloon flights over Hyde Park operated before the Great Exhibition. One could have exploded on some earlier date, unfortunate as I'm sure you'd agree. You believe it may have been from some earlier balloon accident that predates the exhibition?
Si, exactamente. As the senor says, it is not from one of my balloons. Clearly, this little ragazzo from Bohemia is mistaken about what he saw.
Oh, he's pissed.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Master Gotts?
It's Master Wilhelm Gustav Zygmunt Ormstein!
It was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, something is very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear all over Bohemia.
You can speak as much as bad language as you like, but the changes are nothing. If you do not have evidence, ragazzo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh? Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to punishments. Evidence. What is this evidence?
To give a simple example, young man. A photograph, for instance. Some tangible proof of what you claim.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here.
Good gracious.
What? I had not been up in a balloon for a little while, so I was very excited. I took lots and lots of photographs. I was a Crystal Tower, I was a Bohemian exhibit, I was a street of London, I was a hot eel cellar. The balloon. What again? Hot eel cellar. I'm pretty sure that's something that I have nothing a clue about. Let me start again. I was a Crystal Tower, I was a Bohemian exhibit, I was a street of London, I was a hot eel cellar, the balloon, lady skirt. And the instantaneous kinesis experiment? Did you take a picture of that? Yeah, one picture. Really? You did take one? But all I wanted was a ride on a balloon. I was not interested in boring experiments. Never mind that, can you show us that photograph? Of course, and then you will see. You will see that I am not lying, that I really did see a green balloon. Well, I see you are all too shocked to speak.
Yes, I think shocked is indeed the word, young man.
Pay up. Yeah, perhaps you cannot see that it was a green balloon from this photograph, but that is not my fault. That is the fault of the stupid person who made the camera.
I forgot they added the two dots on top of the ace. I forgot they did that. Oh my god. They really made even his cries very bohemian.
That is one very bohemian sounding cry. Yeah, there you go, Yunosuke.
Very well, the court will accept this photograph as evidence, young man. Don't you cry, please don't cry, I just cleaned the floors.
The photograph of the balloon has been entered into the court record. It's not my fault, it's the fault of the person who made the camera. Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, when exactly did you take that photograph? Well, it was on the day of the big explosion.
You don't say.
When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang, and I all the wind rushed over my face. That means this photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. Well, if you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing. I could not get a flying fig. Lovely language you picked up. As I thought, Mr. Lune's testimony just doesn't quite add up. The young bohemian boy claims to have seen another fourth balloon, but Mr. Lune vehemently denies the possibility. And it's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken about the number that were in the air. Still, this inconsistency must tell us something, I'm sure. Okay. Let me take a look at that photograph real quick. Because, let's see. Yeah, there we go. That one's another one. This one I think we have to present because it doesn't have an, if I remember, it didn't have any passengers on the inside. So, yeah. Let's present it real quick.
Objection!
There we go. Unfortunately, the photograph Master Gotts took can't tell us the color of the balloon.
but it can tell us something else, something crucially important. What? It shows that the picture balloon wasn't carrying any passengers.
Ah, my goodness, you're right. But surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers. There would be no sense in it otherwise.
See, they have a pleasure for seeing the view. My balloons only fly with passengers.
Which tells us that the picture balloon isn't one of them. So, the incident, when the incident occurred that day, there was a fourth balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon.
I know nothing. Niente. I can only tell you one thing. If this balloon was not getting any passengers, then it was not the one of mine.
Oh, it's getting very heated now.
There are illegal tradesmen everywhere you care to walk.
Clearly, one such entrepreneur decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the Great Exhibition and managed to operate a balloon flight on Mr. Luna's patch without him realizing.
See, the competizione trying to steal my profits. I did not notice because of the experimento that went wrong on that stage.
This fourth balloon exploded at the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below.
Right, so them scraps that fell to the ground after and left them scorch marks. They didn't come to the stage at all. It was bits of the balloon raining down. Because no one was in it, it didn't get no attention.
A mysterious fourth balloon carrying no passengers, silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection!
This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one and operated by some rogue trader clearly has nothing to do with this case.
Its relevance does elude me, I must say.
The court has been sufficient. I cannot speak today. The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. The prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded.
Oh, Jesus.
Really? Have we really got to the truth yet? No, I can't let this opportunity slip away. The jurors' minds are made up, and not in our favor. What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it?
Objection!
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. The photograph from Master Gods may well be hiding one more vital clue.
What is that?
A vital clue!
Objection!
We're well past the point of mere possibilities. It's time for definitives now, so tell the court. What exactly does this alleged clue in this photograph prove?
The cause of the explosion, Van Zeeks.
We can reasonably assume that the picture balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It was not my fault.
Evidently. Because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky where it had been flying. And the balloon, being filled with flammable hydrogen, instantly explosively ignited.
Objection!
No, that's not what happened. What?
It would appear that this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the location of this alleged clue in the photograph for the record, for the court.
Of course, my lord. If you look closely, it's plain enough to see, and what's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have, in a way that leads to an unbelievable conclusion. The clue that heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded is...
Oh, gee. I wonder what it could be. I really wonder what it could be. I don't know. It's not like it's standing here in plain sight or anything.
Take that!
The timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. If you look, you'll notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon. Most likely a ray of light caught incidentally on the film.
I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort.
There's a giant white line straight through the picture. I feel like that's how, like, when it's like Naruhodo, Phoenix Wright, or any of the people who had to do that, and like, I can't see it. Can you point it out? You're like, it's right there. If you look with the magnifying glass, my lord, it becomes clear what the nature of this bright line really is.
Goodness, what is that?
Undeniably some flash of light, yes.
Oh golly, do you think it might be lightning?
But it couldn't have been a finer day.
There's his voice. I believe you may be looking at fire.
A bird of fire heading straight for the balloon, like an arrow.
Indeed, even to my aging eyes, it would appear to be a flame of some sort.
My word.
Are you suggesting this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon?
Objection!
That's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height.
Objection!
Actually, it's my opinion that a particular piece of evidence found at the scene reveals how that is exactly what did happen.
That is your opinion!
What evidence?
If such evidence exists, Counsel, then for goodness sake, present it, man. Which evidence explains this mysterious streak of flame that appears to be headed directly for the balloon?
Oh, whoops. Wrong button.
Take that!
This is found hidden at the foot of a small ornamental tree near the scene.
Good lord, is that a crossbow?
An arrow dipped in oil and set alight could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow straight into the hydrogen-filled balloon. Give me 1 second, guys. Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately? Blimey, you're right. There's a streak of light in the photo. It looks just like an arrow, doesn't it? Then the explosion of the balloon, it was very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow igniting the hydrogen gas inside it.
No! Order! Order! Counsel, this is an extraordinary supposition.
If the aim was to cause the balloon to explode, the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question. The noise of the discharge, of course. That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently. Excuse me. Well, yeah. If someone had shot a gun off in the exhibition grounds, it would have caused a real panic. But with the big explosion, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I don't like this. I should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this, but something feels wrong.
Objection!
Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend? If a flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, then obviously it would have exploded. And if the birdcage appeared from the cloud of smoke that ensued... What? Wait a minute! What are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage baited into the sky after all? Or what?
My goodness me.
Now I understand. That's what that sinking feeling is about. I think there's a good chance that the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along.
What?
That's not.
What? Did I just hear that correctly, Counsel?
There's no going back now. The horse has bolted. Let's assume, as I said, that the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start. On stage, when the experiment was started, the birdcage and the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared to fall down and crash into the crystal tower. I think you'll all agree, and it's entirely plausible, that what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day.
Good grief!
Like Tony the Tiger.
This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play. A contemptible display of stage magic.
Both Mr. Sholmes and Iris said that the experiment was a scientific impossibility. In which case, this is the only way to explain what happened that day.
And in any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the crystal tower. If the instantaneous kinesis didn't take place, how do you explain that?
If I may put in a word, as a man of magic myself, such apparent discrepancies can easily be explained by some simple deception.
Juror number 3?
All that would be needed is a doppelganger, someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asman. And having this other man appear on stage to front the show as a body double. Yes, of course. So in fact, Mr. Asman must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed inside the balloon right from the start.
Objection!
That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen.
Anything hidden inside it would have been scattered to the four winds when it exploded.
No one would ever have embarked on such a risky venture.
Not necessarily. The explosive force of the balloon gas would very much depend on the mixture ratio.
Juror number 4?
Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mix ratio, the explosive force can be altered.
The mixture ratio?
Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would be unavoidable, but not to such an extent as to render this whole obscene charade impossible.
So everything that happened can be explained, logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of the experiment was no accident. It was all a part of an elaborate deception to make it appear that the instantaneous kinesis had occurred.
Well, goodness me.
And if we accept that this is what happened, it means that the victim, Mr. Asman, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with. In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant, who was on stage in full view the entire time. This will be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Lord Van Zieks can't credibly maintain that Professor Harebrained is the suspect now. Huh? Oh no. Okay, real quick. Why didn't they just reuse the hold it from when he was testifying? Because that would have been great, actually.
Mr. Naruto, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Professor?
But you can stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please.
Sorry? What's all this about, Mr. Hairbrain?
I, Albert Hairbrain, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odie Asman. Yes, it was me, with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver.
What? What are you doing?
Order! 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 Defendant, explain this sudden confession.
Objection!
Professor Hairbrain, what are you talking about?
It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, all an elaborate prank, but where's your proof? No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would all be over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it.
It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you'll just let me, I could prove—
Barak!
Yes.
I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So, please, ensure the special dispensation for scientific ensure the special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to protect my creation.
That's how everyone in the courtroom's like.
First, let me pour a glass of wine. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend.
What?
And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed, and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved. Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter?
What Professor Hairbrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence? Or do I uphold my client's request but see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust.
You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking betrayed, my learned friend?
Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese? My Jesus, I forgot how like he's not okay, kind of racist, but he's like very condescending towards me.
Missionary hairdo!
There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give up on something, but what?
The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was in fact
No, I can't say it. My client placed his faith in me. I can't just let him down.
what must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect?
Susanna, I forgot.
Hello again, Mrs. Naruhodo. It's been far too long.
Susata-san! But what are you? Hi-ya! Ah! My first Asada takedown is 6 months. I can only imagine like this is how Naruhodo is right now. He's like, wait 1 second. He's like this. Well, I haven't had this in a while. I used to get Susato.
There'll be more time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect.
Professor Harebrain. Oh, also, I just realized. Those people in the courtroom just watched this random woman show up right next to my side and throw me down, and no one said anything. Excuse me.
Yes!
Yesterday, you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too.
Yes, of course.
And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asman. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built for the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now.
So, you finally opened your eyes.
What?
And that's for you. Albert, you can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion. Wait. Don't you have something to say?
Barrack!
Lord Van Zeeks.
Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before.
In truth, there is one thing. Something I remembered that's of relevance.
What?
On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow.
I beg your pardon.
Professor! Did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like?
Taller than me, and then thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and wider than mine.
Should I make that?
And straighter than Barrack, actually.
In what sense, Albert?
Well, you know how you and I were back in university.
That's enough, Albert.
Let me see. One less lens than me too. A monocle. A rather stylish black monocle. But one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man you see. I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention.
What?
He built the machine?
That's right. Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Drebber.
Enoch Drebber? Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered.
Not to name any scientist wishes to hear. The man's an abomination.
Not to name any conjurer wishes to hear either. Who on earth is he?
I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talk of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money.
When magicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorting to these underhand tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name here before.
The man is both an engineer and a magician, yes. We're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you.
What?
So it's true then. My invention, my great machine, it was just a grand illusion.
Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely.
Even though no one has believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that the machine was examined in detail. Its construction would give away my hypothesis. So obviously, I didn't want that to happen. But at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified at the prospect.
So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built, and the true nature of Mr. Drebber.
I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it.
It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money.
When I announced my invention to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Jeb had it described. And I'm remembering all this in third person. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know what the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore.
Poor Albert. Like, learning all this and it coming to light that was, like, majority just a trick.
Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Science Equipment Act?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry.
Okay, guilty. It would appear that we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zeeks. My lord. The court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical. Yes, Mr. Drebber. Gather information about the man if possible. I shall like him served with a subpoena. With pleasure, my lord. Now, counsel for the defense.
Yes, my lord.
Never mind. When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused.
I almost said, like, evidence that the defendant is guilty.
Evidence that the defendant is actually guilty. I want this man murdered.
I understand.
Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning. Good luck. It's already 5 p.m., so you gotta find all your evidence within the next 20... Not even 24 hours, my dear man. 12 hours, in fact.
Apparently, he's 4 hours ahead.
Mr. Naruto,
Yes?
I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I tried you. You did this mess. My mess. But, oh, how did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry.
Did you really have no idea, Professor? About what Mr. Drebber was really up to, I mean? About what he was really constructing?
Naturally. That machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it.
Alright, in that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands. So we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow.
Well, thank you for doing so much for me.
It's good seeing Susato again. I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo. Arriving late? Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrive. Postcard? What postcard? I hid it from you, Rina, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work? I was surprised, alright. Especially when she threw me to the ground. Can you please do it again? Oh dear, I'm so sorry. But of course, Mrs. Naruto. I was just happy to see you again, that it sort of slipped out. Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in future. Susie's train was late to London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while. In the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Oh, having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm, delighted to see you back in London. Oh, you're too kind, Miss Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you. Of course. So, what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikotoba not protest? Let's save all the conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made one of my most special blends ever for this special occasion. Oh, Iris, how wonderful. I can't wait. Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time. But despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn.
be continued. As you can tell, this is taking a big toll on my voice here. I think I'll probably go just have the conversation with Susato back at the place, and I'll end it there, because even though I did warm up, it is pretty exhausting, as you can see. Especially when I fully acted out Albert's everything. Oh my god.
Oh, this room. It's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to stay so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you left it. But it has been some 6 months, it's true. So is your father alright, Susie? What happened? My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba. I mean, it was half a year ago, but that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fallen ill, with a very high fever for some unknown reason. That's right. So I was surprised to learn you becoming back so soon. Surprised, but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you, that it was all a trick. My father's in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic... That's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh! You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Yes, of course. I shall. And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you-know-who. About Kazuma. Oh, your boyfriend.
I mean, real quick, can it just be obvious? It's kind of obvious, like because I do know the I based off rumors and everything that I've heard about the original Ace Attorney. It's based off a Yowie, I think it is, and like you can clearly see it with Wright and Edgeworth in the original games, but you can also see it here and with Kazuma and freaking Ryunosuke, because my god, these people, it's like the tension is there. We see it happening.
I know. I'll tell you all that I can.
Okay, let's have our conversation now.
When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely.
The awful trial?
Oh, yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Oh, you dressed as the man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing! I wish I'd seen it. Don't you, Reno? Seeing all the sexism and the misogyny.
Yes, I suppose so.
I want to play being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe.
I don't think any mustaches could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris.
There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Mr. Sato. And it's about the real reason why Professor Mikotoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with that convict salute you found in Mr. Natsume's lodgings. That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Mr. Natsume included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet.
Why would that be then?
Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie!
That's a very meaningful look Susato-san's giving Iris there. Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium too. I think he said that investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend.
Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jigoku would have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe.
Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say?
Yes, His Excellency, Judge Seishiro Jigoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruhodo. Last year, in the Supreme Court?
You can't possibly have forgotten. Oh boy.
That terrible trial of yours when you were accused of murder.
Ah, yeah, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days.
Well, it was Judge Jigoku who presided over that trial.
If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life.
Oh, well, anyway, as father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end, he agreed to me going on ahead.
Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put in an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important.
I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. I think he's hoping that by achieving the exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General.
The most senior position in the British justice system.
He's hoping to use this power to create the world's finest policing institution. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently, it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition.
Does Professor Mikotoba know Lord Strongheart personally then, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen to it too much of it.
How trying for you.
Giselle Brett. The woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. That's a name I won't forget as long as I live.
The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget.
Sorry?
Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist.
Didn't exist? How could that be?
It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin, and she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front.
A front? Who on earth was she then?
Miss A. Shin. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. Nobody knows why or even how she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could the woman have been up to? I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we can be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand.
And now she's been killed.
while all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. Shin. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? I feel like I knew about it in a past life or a past game. After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange.
Oh, great. Wait. Hold up. I think... Okay, I want to use my Man in Moment voice, but I forgot the voice I gave him. I think I gave him like an old-timey reporter's one. Like, you know, the ones in like the old film reels, and it's like the one who's over the top. Almost like a transatlantic. Almost like that. Okay, I'm going to try my best, but it's been a while since I did Many Memo that I totally forgot his voice, so bear with me here for this one. I know the truth. I know you had a hand with what went on. And that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never...
And that's when Judge Shigoku killed him. Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later, I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what was going on about... what he's going to say about Kazuma-sama. And what did you learn? After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen at the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of the consulate staff there. Should have been. Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. It just disappeared. What? Kazuma's body vanished? Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown. Except, Kazuma-sama isn't there. Did Professor Mikotoba know about this? Yes. It would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak. I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Buria were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be that he's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruto! It's too much to bear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me so very much. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruto. When Kazuma-sama was discovered by Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? You're right. And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly. You're right. So if Kazuma-sama hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes had lied to us. But there's no reason why he would possibly have done such a thing. I suppose that's true, yes. The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it. Because if it turned out to not be true, then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might happen. I'm terrified of what that might do to me.
is Susato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Susato-san we're talking about after all. So, I probably shouldn't push it now.
Oh god, that's the one thing I remember about the scene. Like, it is a very emotional scene for sure, and so, like, like, maybe the one thing I know about that scene is like we've all been there at that one point in our lives where like it's kind of like losing a pet in a way. You, especially when you're a little kid, and you have that hope, and you hope that you're like they can come back, because that's what we all want to believe. But as you get older and like stuff like this happens all the time, you want to have that hope, but at the same time you can't get too much because you're afraid that it won't be true. And so it is a very hard moment. It's very much like in Endgame, Avengers Endgame, when Hawkeye says that line to Black Widow. It's hard, because while it would be nice to have hope that everything will be fine, you always have to have that little thought. You always have to keep that at the back of your brain. The main thing is like, yeah, there is that possibility, but there's also a very high likely chance that it's not going to happen. Oh, okay, that was a lot. Okay.
It must be about a year ago now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's own notes. It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. I called it The Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it. I put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it. So nobody knows anything about it, apart from Hurley and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? Oh, it sounds so exciting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. And you wouldn't tell me. How'd you come to know it? Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Oh! I'm only sorry I've had to keep it from you for so long, Iris. It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study, and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, "The Hound of the Baskervilles." What? My Baskervilles story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and...
Susato, what are you doing?
Oh, Father.
Did you look at those papers?
No, I simply read the label, that's all.
Well, put it out of your mind.
Sorry?
Forget that you ever saw it. And certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand?
But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan? I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholm's exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions. And there was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I've no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still. I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. Susie. There we go. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well. So, you're fully abreast of the situation already, Mr. Sato. I'd expected nothing less, to be honest. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick. Yes, a conjurer of sorts, by the sound of it, well known in the fields of science and magic. Then, we need to go and arrest him. I'll use my Susato takedown on him. Well, yes. You must know the truth behind this case, so I agree. We really do need to find the man. It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. Which is a job for the police. Or a great detective.
I can already hear like Mr. Sholmes like every time they say great detective, like Mr. Sholmes probably has like something in his brain. It's like, I think someone's talking about me.
Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly before the herb market. But let me know later how you got on, won't you? That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb market must be strong.
Well, hey, spices were very popular back then, Ryunosuke. Don't underestimate that.
Okay, I think this would be a... Yeah, I did say this. I would do one last bit, and that bit is done because, oh my god, my voice is tired. But I'm really glad I have Susato back now because the thing for me is that what is it? Susato is a character that like I've mentioned in the past, that's very close to my own voice. So I am very grateful she's back because the thing for me is that even though I really love Ryunosuke and everything, the one thing about these two people is that I just have to use my own voice, which is not a bad thing. It's just when I have other people like you saw right there, Iris, the judge, and like the jurors and the witnesses. Those take a big toll on like bouncing around, and that's why I think I can see now why most people don't do voice acting when it comes to what is it, to this game, because it does take a toll. Don't get me wrong, it is very much very hard to do, and so that's why I'm really glad she's back, because for me it's just having that little moment of a quick reprieve in a way of just having Susato and Ryunosuke. It's always welcome. You know, it's not too bad.